Today, I'm talking to someone that was vegan for 4 years to then eating raw chicken for 500 days straight, holding the world record for it, all to see if he would get salmonella and get sick. He has also been traveling the world, exploring the tropics and Central America to see how does the environment play a role in his health. The sunlight you get, the water, the EMF exposure around you, food quality, all things we're gonna explore today, which of course impact your health, which are then going to impact your books, and so much more than that, like your mental sharpness and energy through the day. These are all things that I and the guests that I'm speaking to today have struggled with, no matter how clean we ate and how much exercise we did. It felt like something was missing. And so we're gonna dive into the importance of the environment around you and what is the healthiest country to live in.
Your skin is looking smooth. I like.
Yeah, that's the sun.
Exact.
Because when I had a bunch of wrinkles actually at my early 30s already because I was 4 years vegan. So that really destroyed the collagen quite badly in my body. But it has really fixed now, especially after being 8 months in the tropics. Now my skin is like all the wrinkles are gone. Like my skin is super smooth, and a lot of people are always like, you have such a good, like perfect skin.
So you never notice none of that mainstream, oh, you're gonna age faster, all that
No, it's
stuff.
completely the opposite for me. Like I had bunch of wrinkles here and stuff, and they have like disappeared in the last year or so.
You were born and raised in Finland, right?
Yeah, I'm Finnish.
And what caused you to move out of it and start traveling? When was that, and what exactly made you do it?
Well, I have traveled a lot since I was very small. I think I went to Canary Islands when I was 6 months old, so my parents are pretty adventurous people, and I was very lucky to get a lot of experience of traveling with them, with my family. And then I'm also very adventurous type of guy. So I have traveled quite a bit on my own. Firstly, it was just for fun, just for the new experience. It's just kind of like what most young adults or teenagers travel. Maybe kind of finding yourself, experiencing new shit and that type of stuff. But I was always very into health and athletics, and I went all of the wrong rabbit holes basically since I was a teenager and all throughout my 20s. I'm in my early 30s right now. And I did bunch of super retarded shit in my 20s that fucked up my health. And I was always searching for the answers that led me to all of the wrong rabbit holes because of many things. That's how the algorithms in the internet are built, that it leads us usually to the wrong rabbit holes because those are the things that pushed by the algorithms by design. And I went to them and I only found wrong answers, and my health was getting worse and worse. I was a high level athlete all throughout my 20s, training super hard. And I was this health conscious guy, thinking I was doing all of the right things. But slowly but surely, my body was breaking down. The magic in life, like the kind of euphoria, just overall good feelings in life, they were kind of disappearing. And it really hit me during the COVID times, although I knew since the very beginning what was going on because I'm also I've also been very interested about how the world works. Like what's really going on? Why are things how they are? Way ahead of the curve with the corona shit that was going on. But there was also something else that was going on during the same time. They started to roll out the 5Gs. the 5G telecommunication systems around these west, especially in Finland and other Western countries. And during that time, I was living in one of the biggest cities in Finland on this shitty apartment, two stories up, and I could actually see multiple 5G towers just from my bedroom window. And during that time, I kinda knew it wasn't a good thing, but I didn't fully grasp how bad it actually were. So even though I didn't take any of the COVID, you know what, those things, I was getting hit pretty hard by my stupid athletic endeavors. Like I was spending all of the time in the blue lit gyms, training every single day in those places. I was having those earbuds on my ears because I really like to train with music. I was having those on every single day. So I was stressing my body in very bad environment. And when the 5G towers came, my health just started to, like my being, my life force just, it was like my life force were being sucked out of my body. And I started to feel really kind of empty. I was very fatigued. I was sleeping at least 10 hours, but usually something like 12 hours a night, which is not something that a healthy young man should be sleeping, I don't think. So my body just couldn't keep up. I couldn't recover, and I had to find some way. That led me to the primal movement, the raw meat movement, because before that, I had pretty much tested all of the diets. One of the most retarded things I did in my 20s, I was 4 years vegan in Finland, high latitude place. And that completely fucked my health before all of this that I'm explaining about the 5G world. And so that really depleted my body big time in my early 20s. But then I realized what was really going on. I got sucked into the veganism religion, and I kind of could recover pretty well a couple years before the 5G nonsense and all of that. I started to eat a lot of animal products and stuff, and I kind of gained a bunch of strength back. I think I was 4 years weak and I got really thin, like I was really shredded because I was still high level athlete that time. And that led also to a bunch of other problems. But when I quit veganism and I started to load up on the animal products, I think I gained like 5 kilos in 1 month. And it was mostly a muscle, a little bit fat also. So I kind of gained my strength rather quickly, but there was some long lasting things about the 4 year vegan experiment that completely failed me. So anyway, that leads to the when my health started to go down again in the city, exercising a lot, 5C city, going to the gyms, coaching other people, just being inside all the time or in the city environment. And I really started to feel I was losing myself. I didn't have energy to do anything except the training. And it was just no way to live really. Like I was maybe probably at 30 years old. And from the outside, people would look at me because I could do all kinds of crazy athletic feats. I have a few videos on my channels, or if you can find my personal Instagram, you can see all of these. So I could do like almost one arm handstands, one arm chin ups. My best deadlift was like 500 pounds, which is 230 kilos. And for my body weight, which was like 78 kilos at the time, that's triple body weight deadlift. I had over double body weight ADG squat. I could do all kinds of flips, tricking was my big sport, so I could do all kinds of crazy flips. So from outside looking in, people would always be amazed by my athletic capabilities, and they would think like I'm super health conscious person. But in the inside, I was feeling quite shit, to be honest. And that led me to the primal movement, because that was the only, I was very much into the food is the number one thing when it comes to health, except obviously like relationships and human connection and that type of stuff. But food is the biggest thing that I can affect, because relationships, that's always two-way street with two people. So it's not only your doing, but with food, that's like my decision. That's what I can practically do every single day. So that led me to the raw meat movement, and that's also how I became my base science YouTube channel with the raw chicken experiment. And obviously, I choose raw chicken because it's the funniest thing to do. Because people are like, "Oh, you're gonna get salmon Nutella, salmonella." I call it salmon Nutella for fun, but so I just choose to like, let's see if I'm gonna eat raw chicken every single day on my channel. Am I gonna get sick, or is my health gonna get better? But on the outside of my videos, I was also doing the Archonus Wonder Planets primal diet kind of shit, like raw meat mostly, some raw vegetable juices and raw fruits and stuff. So that was really the first experiment that I started to share on my new base science channel. And one big thing about the primal movement is that it's very much also all about nature. It's the big thing is the diet, but it's also be as much in the nature as possible. So that's also what I started to do, that I started to go to the parks or a little bit outside of the city, spend a lot of time in nature. I started to come here at my family's cabin that's completely out of the city. Like there's no, probably the closest 5G tower here is like 20 kilometers away. So you don't get affected by the non-native EMF nonsense here at all. So in the summertime, I would also come here a lot. But while I was in the city working and living my shitty city life, I every single day I would go to the parks and stuff. And I started to document this on my YouTube channel. I did the world record on eating raw chicken 500 days in a row. So you can go check out those videos. And those videos obviously evolved to talking about everything, really. But really, that really got my health better from the starting point that I was describing. So I would say I was like here, I was very low, and slowly but surely my health was getting better. But I also realized that the raw primal diet, it wasn't really doing that much for me. Sometimes it would even make me more fatigued, and it didn't really give me much energy. But being outside in the nature, that was really the one key. And I really loved the sun. I've always loved sun a lot. That's one thing that I've always done throughout all of my experiments. But the one thing about Finland, I'm living in a 63rd latitude, is that we don't get much sun. It's like couple good months out of the year. And even those months, like this summer, we haven't gotten past UV5. So UV5 has been the highest amount of UV we have gotten, and that's only been like couple days really during the summer. Like today, it's probably like UV2, and it's mostly cloudy and rainy. So it's usually like UV2 to 4. So you don't really get that much of the sun, that much of the heat from the sun. So anyway, I was feeling like at the end of my raw chicken experiment, I was really spending a lot of time in nature, in the Finnish nature, and I was craving a lot of sun. Like, what you know about high latitudes is that we get a lot of light during the light all the time, basically. Even though the sun is not, if it's a sunny day, you can get sun from like 4 a.m. to 11 p.m. So you get a long window of sunlight. And I was craving all the sunlight. Like my body couldn't get enough of the sunlight. If I came here at my cabin, I can be naked in the sun all day. And I just loved it. And I was craving more and more. So when I started to it was actually excellent health. My friend Jones, who you have also interviewed, I met him in El Salvador and we became great friends. But it was actually, he was also very into the raw primal way of living. And he had an interview of Dr. Jack Kruse on his channel. And I had known about Jack for some time, but I really never watched any of his interviews, read any of his work, because obviously there's a bunch of things that people say about Jack because he maybe are not the most best looking guy. He's a little bit of heavier guy and all of that. So if you only see that and you don't dig deep into his knowledge, you can kind of dismiss him easily. So I was doing that. I just never got into Dr. Kruse's work, but because I was watching Jones' channel and he had some pretty good interviews, I was just like, let's see what the Uncle Jack is all about, and that really started to open my eyes that maybe food is not really the answer. Maybe it is, well, in his words, it's light, water, and magnetism, but also you just need stronger nature. That's basically how I view it, because he's all about going to the tropics. And it opened my eyes that maybe just Finland ain't enough. And it made sense because I was craving the sun so much here and I just couldn't get enough of it. And when there is no sun, you just kind of feel like most Finnish people, like kind of depressed, melancholic. And most Finnish people cope with the no sunlight with a heavy use of coffee, heavy use of alcohol, obviously saunas and that kind of stuff. But Finnish people are very kind of like reserved, low energy type of people. Although there's very intelligent people, but kind of low energy also. It's kind of fun combination, but also weird combination. But then I started to really get into Dr. Jack Kruse's work, like really into it. I was listening to his podcasts outside in nature all day, every day, because he has done thousands of podcasts. And the message was always, you have to go to the tropics to really heal the body, and get really good heat of light, water, and magnetism, because that drives all of the biological processes in the body. And the more you get it, the more life force you basically get as a human being, the better you're gonna feel, the better you're gonna heal, all this sort of stuff. And that really started to open my mind that, okay, I need to go to the tropics. Although I had traveled a lot at that point, I had never really gotten into the tropics. Like I had never really been inside of the 20s. And that's when I got the idea, because I had the funds to do it, that I should go to the Central America, which is obviously a big thing if you follow Dr. Jack Kruse. He's based on El Salvador. But I also wanted to kind of explore the whole Central America. I had always wanted to go to Costa Rica because firstly, it was because of my vegan times, because I was heavily into the fruits, as many vegans are, that type of nonsense. I was eating all kinds of tropical fruits here in Finland, which is very retarded thing to do because of the high sugar content and high deuterium content that your body cannot get out without the strong sunlight that the fruits are grown under. But I was very into the fruits from the past, So that's how I kind of got the idea to go to Costa Rica in my youth. Like I wanted to go to Costa Rica and eat all kinds of fruits. But also the nature seemed very beautiful there and all that. But now with this new perspective, I also wanted to go to Costa Rica because the sunlight is very strong. It has volcanoes. The beaches are really nice. Also, I just wanted to kind of explore the whole Central America. So I had the funds to do it, and I decided I'm gonna leave Finland in mid-September when it really starts to get depressing here. That's when then darkness starts to set in. There's just no sunlight at all. It's like UV 0, UV 1 at most. And that's when everybody starts to get sick here. And it's just super depressing in Finland that time of the year. And I decided I want to go to Central America for the whole fall, the whole winter, and the whole springtime. And just do an experiment on my channel, share it with other people, and see what like the message Jack Kruse is telling people. Is this really the real message about health? Like, is this the most powerful thing you can do as a human being for your health? I just wanted to experience it myself. And that's when I started to kind of long answer, but it's a good to get a little backstory, I think, for the viewers. So that's how I started my Tropics all day experiment on my channel. And that's how I started my travels in Central America, just to see what's up with the tropical life.
That's a very good answer and very in depth. Before we get into, how was their experience moving to the tropics, I just want to
Mhm.
touch on something I didn't knew, which you mentioned that seems pretty crazy. You had the world record of eating raw chicken, 500 days, right?
Oh, yeah. Every single day is on my channel.
How
Those are
did
the
that
first 500 videos I made in based science.
how did that go?
Well, I didn't get sick from the raw chicken once. So, all of the people saying you can get salmonella eating raw chicken, I didn't get it. 500 days in a row. I would say it was kind of neutral. Like eating raw meat for me is kind of a neutral thing to do. It really, for me, it doesn't boost my health that much, but it doesn't also affect it negatively. So it's kind of just neutral thing to do in my mind. Personally, I find raw chicken and raw meat in general, it's not bad. Like many people that saw my video, well, not many people saw those videos for many reasons, but some of them that do, from the outside, they are always like, oh, that's so disgusting eating raw chicken and it must taste horrible and stuff. But not really. Like raw chicken is very neutral food. Like you could make a nice ceviche dish. You could mix like raw chicken with lime juice and onions and stuff, and it almost tastes like a raw fish ceviche, which is very common food in Central America. But on my videos, I usually just ate raw chicken like straight because it's the funniest thing, and I'm all about making things funny and entertaining and having some fun in life. You have to have some fun in life. Humor is very good thing for human beings. So I just ate them straight from the package or whatever, just from the for the comedic effect. And like it was fine, but it's not some mind-blowing result. I didn't get any mind-blowing health results from that. So that's why I kind of left the raw primal ways behind. Well, we can get into that after we start to touch up on the Tropics all day experiment because that really changed my mind on how important food really is. With obviously Dr. Jack Kruse is always super angry about, and that was also what was so funny about the first interview he did with Jones from Excellent Health, because he was really getting into Jones, because Jones was also all about food at that time, and Jack was not having it at all. So that's also kind of how I my experience have flipped that food is not really that important in my mind. It plays a role in health for sure, but it's not that important.
When I think food plays a big role. If you're eating processed diets, eating a bunch of processed food, even a vegan diet, then yes, if you switch to animal foods, you're gonna notice a big difference. But if you're already eating whole foods, eating clean, and you just keep doubling down on that, even though you feel like crap, you're getting acne, brain fog, that's not gonna make any difference. We gotta look at the other environment factors, which I believe those are going to be the ones that are gonna give you the biggest boost. It's like when we are driving a car, we only feel the acceleration. You might be going at 100, 200 miles per hour, and because you're constantly in that velocity, you're not gonna notice any change. You're like, oh, we're going slow, when you're not, but it's the acceleration that we feel. And people who are already eating whole foods, they feel like, oh, this isn't really helping me, because you're stagnant, you're in the same velocity. When you change the other factors like light, water, magnetism, you notice the acceleration again, and you feel like this is the next level.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
You
yeah.
need much more than food when it comes to just health and life force as a human being. You need much more than food. And I can tell you this much also. You can handle the processed foods and all the shitty matrix foods way better in a better environment. Like here in Finland, I cannot handle that shit that much. But I did experiments in my tropics experiment, especially in Nicaragua, just for fun. I ate some like complete garbage foods to see what happens to me, and I was handling them really well, I gotta say. I was feeling way better than I ever feel here in Finland, eating complete crap there at Nicaragua. So that was a interesting experiment, say the least.
And when you switch from vegan to eating more animal-based foods, would you say you noticed more improvements with that change, or the change of moving to the tropics?
Moving to the tropics by a long shot.
Okay. So let's get into that. You
Mhm.
mentioned your entire journey. You then went to the tropics. How did that go?
Well, you can go check out all the videos in my channel to really see how it went. But the short answer is that it went amazingly. I have never felt so good in my life. All of the problems that I still had, like I had some nagging injuries from my athletic past that just didn't heal here in Finland. Like little bit problems with my left shoulder, left knee, like nothing too major, but something that kind of was, if I started to do some harder, higher impact athletic things, they would give me a little trouble here at Finland. I also had still problems with energy. Like some days I just didn't have energy here in Finland. Like I was pretty fatigued. Also, I tore both of my hamstrings. That was during the maybe 1 year before I went to the tropics or something like that. And they didn't really heal that well either. Like I was feeling very stiff here at Finland because the hamstring injury, it just didn't heal really. And so there was a bunch of stuff still that was kind of a bit of a problem for me, but not really that much. So all of those things, the energy levels, the nagging injuries, the stiffness, the fatigue, all of those things disappeared during the 8 months. So it really was by far the best health experiment I have ever done, like by far. And I have done pretty much all of the health experiments. I didn't get into all of the things I have done in my past. I had my supplement phase, like where you try all of the supplements. Then I had my natural supplement phase when you try shilajit or mushroom, like the reishi, shaga, lion's mane, that kind of shit. Not the psychoactive mushrooms. I've never tried those. But I've had many phases of health journey in my past. And during the 8 months, like it was just magical time. Straight away when I get to Costa Rica, I picked Santa Teresa in Costa Rica to be my first place. And it really was a perfect place to go because it turned out to be the most beautiful tropical paradise beach I have ever been, and still is my favorite beach in the world that I have ever been. So it really was a perfect place to start my journey. And straight away, I I just got this ease of being in my being. Like everything was feeling super easy. Life was just flowing very naturally. Now, obviously, many people are gonna say like, but you were there like it was a holiday. You didn't have any stress or whatever. But the stress levels were pretty much obviously they kind of disappear, but I think they disappear there because of the environment is so powerful. You get so much of the UV light, you get so much of the beta endorphins from the UVA, you get so much dopamine. Like the dopamine level increase from Finland to Costa Rica, it was insane. Like I had life force and motivation all day, every day. It was very like I said, in Finland, I was still sleeping probably like 9 hours at the end here, which was a little bit less than when I was really heavy on the athletic stuff. But still, like I was sleepy, motherfucker. But there in the tropics, I just started to wake up during sunrise every day. I could sleep like 7, 8 hours easy and naturally just wake with the sun. Like the energy level that I started to experience there straight from the get-go was completely different than any time in my life in Finland, no matter what I did. So the overall experience was amazing. And I gotta say the effects on my body, they just kept getting better and better. I was 1.5 months in Costa Rica first, and that was amazing. Costa Rica is so beautiful. It's like nature on steroids, basically, there. Obviously, all of these countries have their own problems. Costa Rica has some problems as well. Like, there's some problems now with the gangs there. Although, for me, Costa Rica was very safe because I don't mess around much. I'm not outside in the nighttime doing drugs or anything, so for me, Costa Rica was very like everybody's just like pura vida, bro, dapping you up. Everybody's pretty nice, but there is some upcoming maybe dangers in Costa Rica because of the economic situation. Because Costa Rica is pretty expensive and the locals don't make that much money. So when the economical situation gets poor, people turn into being robbers and thieves and gangsters to just survive. So there is that thing about Costa Rica. But usually they probably target some rich people, rich Americans that go there. Like if you live a low-key life in nature. You ain't gonna have any problems there. Also, Costa Rica, well, Costa Rica kind of goes where United States goes, and they don't have a standing army. So Costa Rica might have some political and economical problems, but just naturally speaking, it's the most beautiful country I have ever been. It's super nice and clean because of obviously the nature is the main attraction when it comes to tourism. So Costa Rica really keeps the nature pretty pure and pristine. They have some problems with like glyphosate and that type of like farming, over monocropping and that kind of stuff in some places, but you can find easily super pristine, amazing natural places in Costa Rica. And I just love that. And I was feeling so good there for the 1.5 months. Like I was saying when I started the primal thing in here at Finland and going into nature here at Finland, like I was going up like slowly but surely, but that was not really enough for me. But when I went to Costa Rica, that line went straight up like this, straight away. And it was just amazing. So then I went to Nicaragua, which is the poorest country in the Central America, Guatemala probably being the close second. But it was funny because in Costa Rica, I would talk to some of the Ticos there. Ticos is what are the native Costa Ricans are usually called. And they would be like, some of them would be like, oh, be careful at Nicaragua. Nicaragua is gonna be dangerous. And I was kind of like chuckling, like, let's see. usually people are wrong with that kind of stuff. Also, some of my Finnish family members and friends, they would be like, oh, Nicaragua, that sounds kind of sketchy or whatever. But turns out Nicaragua actually is my favorite country in Central America right now because the people there are so nice. It's like very authentic, raw, like very raw, authentic people still, and everybody is so nice. In Nicaragua, the thing is like they are like my friend. Everybody's like my friend. And there, I guess they don't see 6 foot tall Finnish, blue-eyed, blonde-haired white man often because everybody was staring at me there all the time. The women, the children, the men. Like I had many pretty fun experiences that I talked in my channel. Like some gay guys came to hit me up. Some children came to talk to me. Like I was staying at this farmhouse in Nicaragua, and the whole neighborhood's children, like maybe 10 of them, just one night came to talk to me about life. And I just had extremely wonderful time in Nicaragua. I love the people of the country there, but also Nicaragua, because it is the poorest country of the region, the technology is not as advanced than many of the other places. So there's less of the 5G towers, way less actually. It's way more rural. Everybody got animals roaming around on the volcanic soil. I had the best meat of my life in Nicaragua. It's also one of the cheapest meats. So the best meat and the cheapest meat. So the nature is similar to Costa Rica, but one thing that's worse in Nicaragua is that they trash a lot. Like somehow in the culture, one guy was explaining it to me like before 90s, basically everybody was wrapped in these banana leaves and these biodegradable things, and people just got used to like throwing shit on the ground. And then everything changed to plastics, and somehow they didn't have the brain power to think that the plastics are not biodegradable, so they stay on the ground. So they just kept the same habit, throwing all the plastics on the ground and never cleaning or picking it up. And it's pretty trashy there at some places in Nicaragua, which is kind of unfortunate. And it's kind of weird that they don't just think about their living an environment that much. But there's plenty of really nice natural places in Nicaragua as well. And because of the lower level of non-native EMFs in Nicaragua and really high quality food, like the food quality in these rural places in Nicaragua is really high. Like you can taste it in the meat. I can tell you that much. So when it went like Costa Rica was like going up like for me like this, then in Nicaragua it went even more up. And that's really where I felt my best. I was also staying very close to volcanoes in Nicaragua. There is this, my favorite place probably on earth right now. Probably this cabin, because this is a cabin my grandfather built. So I have plenty of memories here from my childhood and my grandparents and all of that. This might be my favorite place on earth, but my second favorite is Ometepe, Nicaragua. It's this volcanic island with two huge volcanoes on a lake Nicaragua, which is one of the biggest lakes on earth. It almost looks kind of like a sea when you are on the island because the lake is so huge. I was 1 month there in Ometepe, basically on a volcano, 1 month straight. And it was such a beautiful place, very rural, very low in non-native EMFs, amazing food, amazing people, just overall extremely good environment for human beings in 2026, which is hard to find. So that's really where I really fell in love in Nicaragua. Then I also ventured some other places. I visited the Caribbeans in the Corn Islands, and those are also very nice. Little Corn and Big Corn Islands, if you want some Caribbean in your life, I would highly recommend, because they are also very low still on the non-native EMFs, especially Little Corn Island. In Little Corn Island, they turn off the electricity off for half a day, for 12 hours a day. There's no cars, there's no motorcycles, so there's none of that pollution there. It's very pristine. Like, I felt super good. You can get the best seafood there. You can get lobsters very cheap. But Big Corn Island is also very good. There's cars in Big Corn Island, but it's still amazing place to go. And then I visited the Granada Laguna de Apoyo, which is basically a volcanic crater. That place I didn't like so much because that's where the rich Nicaraguans are. And where rich people go, rich people bring the rich people problems, which is usually the technology and kind of different attitude about life, less authentic people. So it was very beautiful place and I had a really nice week there, but it's one place that I wouldn't really recommend anybody to go if they want really to feel good or heal something. On paper, it sounds amazing because it's volcanic crater or caldera, and the lake is super clean. Like, that's one of the cleanest lakes in Nicaragua. That's also one of the bad sides of Nicaragua. Some of the natural lakes they have, they are super polluted because, like I said, they don't really think much about polluting nature in Nicaragua, unfortunately. But Laguna de Apoyo is really clean, but they have non-native EMF problems there. So that's the bad thing about that place. Granada is also a very nice city in Nicaragua. I would highly recommend areas around Granada. It's the oldest colonial city on earth. It's really beautiful. You can get all of your animal products fixes. It's very easy to find high quality meat or high quality tropical fruits there, which are completely fine to eat in tropical environments, in my opinion, if you are healthy human being. But Granada is also one place that it's pretty goddamn good place to stay in Nicaragua or close by. Maybe don't stay at the city, but close by Granada. You can find very affordable places. Like that's one great thing about Nicaragua is that if you are a little short on the dollar bills, you can live like a king in Nicaragua for under $1,000 a month easily, very easily.
That's impressive. So, in those places, how much would you say was your budget? And if somebody wants to go there, how much do you think they should have saved up for it?
Uh, it really depends on the country you go because Costa Rica and Nicaragua are completely different. Then I went also to El Salvador to see all of my Mido friends, or I didn't have any Mido friends when I went there, but for me, El Salvador was the most expensive one because they are really having this economy by adopting Bitcoin and Bukele doing the right things basically for the country. So a lot of the rich people want to go to El Salvador now with their Bitcoins and shit. So that the accommodation prices in El Salvador are the highest, and the quality is not as good as that you get in Costa Rica or Panama and Nicaragua for the price you have to pay. So that's one bad thing about El Salvador, but there is a huge health community or Mido community in El Salvador, so you can create a bunch of good connections there. And it's also very beautiful. It's pretty beautiful country. I would rank Costa Rica first, Nicaragua second, and then maybe some places in Panama. In Panama, I was only in one place, but some places in Panama are also extremely beautiful, and maybe El Salvador after that. It also depends what time of the year you go. I was in El Salvador during the dry season, so that's when it's more like a desert, even though it's still like a jungle, but everything is kind of dried up. Now during the rainy season, everything kind of becomes very green and lush there. So it's a different type of vibe depending on the time of the year you go there. But talking about the budget, Nicaragua and Guatemala, I didn't go to Guatemala, but I know Guatemala is also very cheap, and the best volcanoes are in Guatemala. So if you don't have much money, you could go to Nicaragua and Guatemala, and you can do maybe $800 a month and live very comfortably. You can have your own place rented for a month. You can eat pretty much whatever you like. You can probably rent a motorbike or a scooter or whatever. And you can do like 800 to $1,000 a month. El Salvador and Costa Rica, there you need a little bit more cash or Bitcoin, because even in Costa Rica, you can pay with Bitcoin in some places. Bitcoin jungle is in the Dominical and Uvita area of Costa Rica. So you can, if you were smart and you got some Bitcoin, you can do that in those places. But I would say you need probably 1,200 to 1,500 a month to live like a king there. But you can do cheap there as well if you compromise on some things. But health conscious people usually don't want to compromise too much. So if you want to be comfortable, I would say like 1,200 is kind of the minimum. Panama is kind of in between. You can do probably 1,000 in Panama. 1,000 to 1,200 is pretty good in Panama, in my opinion.
After you visited those places, were there, and you had those peaks, did you have any more peaks after it? You moved to a new country, or you just had the big peak and you kind of stayed up there?
No, it was very dynamic. Like first in Costa Rica and Nicaragua, those were the first 4.5 months I had. That was like all the way up to the top. Like at the end of my Nicaragua stay, you can go watch my videos. Like I was feeling so good. Like that was probably the happiest I've ever been, just naturally happy. Obviously, things like love and family and relationship and human connection can affect your happiness. But taking those things out, just how you feel like just naturally by yourself, I have never felt so good that I felt at the end of my stay in Nicaragua. And I think that shows in my videos that I made back then. But then actually my parents came to visit me and we went to Mexico, Yucatan, Mexico for 2 weeks. And Yucatan, Mexico is pretty much like going to big cities in United States. We went to Cancun, Playa del Carmen, Tulum. We visited Chichen Itza. We visited Merida. And those cities are already like 6G cities. Like I have never experienced as fast internet that I have there. And it's almost like going to United States with little Mexican vibe and the Mayan pyramids and stuff that are actually really cool. Like if you are into that kind of stuff, I would highly recommend you to visit there to check out the pyramids. But health-wise, it's no place to be. So when I was at my top, I was in Nicaragua. Then I went to the Yucatan, Mexico, and that was well, it was very, very different, and I didn't feel as good. I didn't feel that bad either, but just mentally seeing all the bullshit that the modern life is kind of all about, like Cancun, Playa del Carmen, Tulum, it's all about just people drinking, partying, doing all of the bullshit that many people do in 2026. And it's like right in your face. And then the 6Gs there and all of that. So it was definitely a dip from Nicaragua, but it was only like, that was basically a holiday for me. That was like a 2 week holiday. So, and I saw my family there, so it wasn't that bad. But just mentally, it was kind of from going from being absolutely white pilled on life, where everything is like very easy and good. I went very black pilled in Mexico, which was kind of fun to see. But then I went to El Salvador, and I gotta say, El Salvador didn't. It was way better than Mexico, Yucatan, but it wasn't as good for me as Costa Rica and Nicaragua was. And it was very noticeable. I started to notice it quite early. And in El Salvador, it was kind of, it's way better than Finland, I will tell you that much. But it's because I experienced what Costa Rica and Nicaragua is like. I kind of crave that. Like I want to feel that good again. And El Salvador, even though the community and the friends I made there, like the human connection was the best, I just didn't feel as good at the place I stayed in El Salvador. Obviously, there's many other places that you can stay. But the places that I stayed, I didn't feel as good that I did in Costa Rica and Nicaragua. So then I went to Panama, and I went to this small fishing village in Panama. And that's also very low in tech. And then there we had these massive beaches that nobody was in. Like I was the only one at the massive beach, so I could be just completely Adam and Eve style there at the beach, if you know what I mean. And the sun was the strongest in Panama because it's closest to equator. So there it was like UV 14, 13 every single day, being naked at the massive beach that I did in Nicaragua and Costa Rica, or maybe even better, I don't know. Just like super, super good every single day. It feels like this is what I'm meant to do as a human being. This is what life is all about. Like no problems, no physical, no mental, no emotional problems. Life's just very easy. You feel the magic in life. Like it's just a beautiful, for me at least, it was very beautiful time. And when I came back to Finland, let's just say that it hasn't been the same at all. Like it's better than it was last summer and all the other summers before that in Finland, because I got a massive boost in those 8 months of my well-being, but it's just not the same here because the light, water, and magnetism is completely different here than it was in Central America. So it's just not the same.
Okay, so if you had to do a country slash city tier list quickly, if you could do it in terms of the places you have been and how you felt there, your experience, how would it be?
I would put Nicaragua at top, Costa Rica second, Panama third, El Salvador fourth, then Mexico is all the way there. And I have visited quite a few places in Europe, and I would put all of the places in Europe also below even El Salvador, just the way how I feel right now. The places, my favorite place was in Ometepe. That was really magical place with the two volcanoes on the island. Then I really liked the Nicoya Peninsula, which is one of the blue zones, which I know the blue zones are kind of a scam, but it is one of the blue zones. And I really liked Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica, which is like Montezuma, Cabuya, Santa Teresa. I really liked that area. I also liked the area that I was in Panama, which is Pedasi. I really liked the Granada area in Nicaragua as well. And if you like Caribbean vibes, I really like Corn Islands. So I would say I would put those in top 5. Corn Islands, Granada area, Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica, Pedasi in Panama, and Ometepe.
To a person like, for example, me, I haven't been to those places except Cancun. I've actually went there, but it's pretty much as you said, like it's like Miami. We can
Yeah,
say it's literally at the same level.
yeah.
And I'm actually in I live in Portugal, so it's not the worst in terms of Europe. I'd say it's probably one of the best countries, but in terms of the having the best environment. But I still live 200 meters away from a 5G tower. And so I think I've never really experienced what it's like to not be around 5G and non-native EMF radiation as drastically as you have at least. And so for me and probably to the viewer, to some of the viewers, it can be hard to grasp on how important this is. Oh, it's just placebo. It's not a real thing or something. Can you explain your experience with this?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's basically where we started. If you listen to my story, I was living in one of the biggest cities in Finland, and I was just feeling shit. And then I started to be more here. Like I said, probably the closest 5G tower from here, where I'm at in Finland, is probably like 20. I was going up from the city life, just being here at Finland. But then you add like a tropical experiment when you can really maximize light, water, and magnetism. And then you can add like country like Nicaragua, which don't even have like a big 5G infrastructure with low non-native EMFs. You feel just completely amazing. Like it's a whole nother beast. And if you have never experienced, you are missing. And I can say you are missing a lot. This is how most of the natural tribes lived all their lives, just completely in the nature, grounded all the time. Most of them live in tropical places as well. That's where they come from. And they don't have any health problems. If you're gonna live in high latitude places like Finland, like living in like I have visited the city that I used to live for 10 plus years, couple times this summer for some personal things. And most of the people there, like 80% of the people there, look like ghouls. They are mouth breathers, they have empty glaze in their eyes, and they just look pale ghouls. I'm gonna be honest, and this is not even hyperbolic. They actually kind of look like zombies in 2026 there at the city, and they have very little life force. And that's exactly what I was also feeling, that's where I'm headed at if I don't make some changes in my life. Now, I'm very glad that I made these changes and did my experiments. And I also shared my experience that other people can wake the fuck up, because we need a lot of people to wake up in the modern world if we want to change this shit, because it's going downhill fast for many people. And if you have only experienced what city life is, like I said, you don't know what you are missing, and you are missing a lot when it comes to just how you feel, how you develop. Like, can you build any healthy families or healthy relationships in these toxic environments? Like, you can see these problems very clearly in 2026 in the modern high standard of living world when you look at how the relationships are with men and women, like how the fertility is when it comes to women and men, like how it is, how many young people are getting my 20-year-old future athlete just drop dead just like that. We have 20-year-olds having Alzheimer's and dementia now. Like, we have small babies having turbo cancers. And obviously, there's many reasons why this is happening. But what I'm saying, one good place to do it is in the tropics, because one thing also that I gain is your brain just works better. Like, everything works better there. Your brain also. And like I said, your dopamine levels have probably never been as high. And when your dopamine levels rise, you can start to see things a bit more clear. You have a bit more clarity about life. And you can start to see these things, what they truly are. And what you know about most modern people, they just mouth breathing and they don't really see what's going on. They might feel what's going on. They might feel kind of empty inside, that and something is wrong. But when you present the information or the knowledge to them like this, they get triggered. They cannot see it. And it goes from one ear to another, and that's it. So if you have the means, I would highly recommend everybody to do a Tropics all day experiment, because I think it might be very well, it probably will be very powerful for you as well. For me, it was obviously big because I'm from such a high latitude, so it's a very big change. For you, living in Portugal, I would still say that it would be a massive change. Like I said to you at the beginning, I don't know if we were recording them, but I have visited Portugal a couple of times, and it's definitely way nicer than Finland is. But it's not like Costa Rica or Nicaragua or Panama. I can tell you that much. Once you experience what nature can do to you, there's really no going back. Your eyes are fully open and you can't go back anymore.
That's true, yes. So, with avoiding EMFs, how do you, for example, right now, are you on this call? How do you usually go about it in your day to day?
Well, if you're gonna use computers like we are using right now, this is probably the best thing you can do. What I'm doing, like, I'm outside, I'm grounded, and this place don't even have Wi-Fi. I'm gonna have to use the mobile data, which I know is not good. either. But these are the ways you can mitigate it. Being outside using the technology, being grounded while using the technology. Obviously, you want to block the blue light from the computer. I don't really even see your screen right now. Like, I'm just talking to my camera, watching the clouds over here. Be as far away as possible from the 5G towers. If you don't really know what you're doing, you could hire a building biologist to check out your place and what the problems are and how you could mitigate them. If you are more DIY type of person like myself, you just have to learn what to look out for, or you can get these measuring devices, then you can actually measure your environment. That's probably the best way to use your hard-earned money when it comes to health. And then you can mitigate your environments the best you can. Like, there's a bunch of different hacks. First, you need to see what the problems are in your environment, and that's why having these devices to measure, for example, radio frequencies or microwaves or magnetic fields or electric fields, like different devices measure different things. If you have the money, you should get all of the devices so you can be really sure. If you don't have the money, you just have to go inside and kind of feel it, and also just know where to look at, what to look after. Like 5G towers, obviously very bad. Power lines, very bad. But also like things like solar panels can fuck up you huge. Obviously, having computers that are plugged into the AC system, that's gonna fuck up you. So when you use computers, don't leave them plugged in. But there's a lot of good videos how you can kind of hack these things, and just something you need to kind of learn in the modern world, and then do the best you can. Be in the nature as much as you can. Be grounded as much as you can, and spend a lot of time away from the technology as well. I know we all are addicted to these devices. I know I am. I know probably some of us don't want to admit it, but and also many of our jobs require us to be one with the technology, sadly these days. But you just gotta have to do the best you can and set aside some time to spend in nature with other people, by yourself, whatever you got, and plug out of the matrix, basically.
That's personally what I've been doing by just going every day on an ocean swim.
Yeah.
It changes everything, especially
Mhm.
the cold exposure, grounding, getting sunlight. Like going on an ocean swim or on a lake, it's top one healthiest habits somebody can have. And I've seen it with my skin. It drastically improved my skin, especially if it's the cold exposure, it's ocean water because of all the minerals and the salt hydrating you. So that's definitely something that has drastically helped me. And
Yeah, I would.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I would say ocean is way superior to lakes, and it's very powerful too. Like, you feel very good.
If somebody has not experienced being in an environment where there isn't non-native EMF and they're in a city, they're next to 5G towers, would you say that the only way for them to realize that this is really harming them is to be in nature? Until they do that, they'll keep thinking it's just placebo, it doesn't really matter, it doesn't
Well,
affect them.
you can know something in your brain. Like, if you start to study the subject, you might come to the conclusion in your brain, in your mind, that it is bad. Like, you can get over the placebo effect and all that. Like, the science is out there, although by design it's bad science on the subject, because we know how the science works in the modern world. It works by money and by control and power. But if you are a smart person and you can first principle think, you can know, being in the city, that these things are bad for me. And I will say this, it's always n equals 1. Like, all of us we are similar at ways, but we are all different in other ways. And different non-native EMFs can affect differently people. Some of us are better at handling them, but for all of us, they are a problem. That's for sure. And it's only gonna get worse and worse if we don't start the revolution, really.
How would you okay, so the science, from what I know on how EMFs are unhealthy to us, has to do with they open up calcium gated voltage channels artificially, which activate a fight or flight state. You can't really get into the rest and digest state and heal, and therefore you constantly feel stress. That's something that the science backs it up, and you can study Jack Kruse if you want to get
Mhm.
more in depth for the viewer. Now, and of course, this will affect your looks, your redox potential, the energy your body has to heal it's yourself, and if you have things like acne, like I had, it shows you have a low redox. Your body doesn't have that energy to maintain clear skin. Now, I have videos on my channel if you want to get more in depth for the viewer. And you mentioned the revolution. Like, how would you say it is possible for us to change the way that the world is going, to help people become healthier, look better?
You have to stop complying with these motherfuckers with everything. We know what the people at the top are doing. We know from the Epstein files. We know by their actions and what they are saying in social media. We know what the country in the desert is doing. And we know that if we pay taxes to them, the taxes are going to go for them to do more of these things, these incredibly brutal and some would say evil things. But you have to stop complying. Like, you cannot give no quarter to them at all. First, you have to conquer yourself. You have to stop the fear. You cannot be in fear if you want to fight back with these guys. You have to get yourself, your state of being as strong as possible. As man, we men have become incredibly weak in the modern world. Like, most of the men are really weak as, like, we are bitches. Like, some of the some of the women I know are stronger than most of the young guys I know. Like, most of the young guys, they're just focusing on looks maxing and watching themselves in the mirror and doing makeup and shit. Like, that's not how we're gonna change everything. That's going into what they are doing to us. Like, the whole looks maxing movement and all of that shit, it's another psyop, let's be honest. So you have to get yourself as healthy, as strong, as vital, as full of life force as possible. And only way I know to do it is nature. Like I have said in this interview, that's gonna bring your dopamine levels up. That's gonna bring your strength up. Well, dopamine controls your muscle fiber type also. So more dopamine you have, more strength you basically have with your muscles and shit. Also, the better your brain is gonna work, like I mentioned, the better you can see through things, and better you can start to actually counterattack these people that are slaving us. Like, we are slaves. We are a bit more free in a sense than for example, the black slaves and the cotton fields back in the day. But most of the people are still absolute slaves living in Plato's cave. They are mentally in shackles, and maybe soon with the surveillance state that's coming up, created by the technocratic bros like Alex Karp and Peter Thiel from Palantir and such. Like soon maybe the physical shackles are also tied in their grips on us with the CBDCs and digital IDs, and maybe then you cannot get out of Europe anymore to do these experiments like you cannot go to Nicaragua anymore to actually heal yourself. So that's the real danger, especially some of these countries in EU, probably UK, Canada, and Australia being the worst countries. Like you might be locked in those countries because you complied too much. You didn't rebel. You didn't revolt against these actions that the people at the top are bringing down on us. But to me, it all starts with health. You have to be in a healthy state to be able to actually fight back. It's also very easy to not feel fear when your testosterone is really high, when your dopamine is really high. The fear just kind of vanishes from your being. But one thing about that for us men that's also dangerous is that we all know those guys that are very high on testosterone, like those soldier army type of dudes, but they are not really good at thinking. Like they are good at strength, they are good at power, they are good at action, but they are easily manipulated. That's how elites also use many of the high testosterone men. They hire them for their armies to police us and advance their agendas. So you really have to marry high testosterone strength of a man who can also first principle think and actually see long term what's good or bad, like what will bring actual abundance for your bloodline to come to. Like you cannot think this, like the elites, they think they have 100,000-year plans. Most of the lemmings or the normies, we just live day to day. Like we don't have any plans or goals. So how could we fight back? So you really have to start thinking about long term. We need to take over health. We need to bring back nature. Then we need to economically be able to survive. And that's really one of the biggest death grips the elites have on us is the Federal Reserve funny money system where they can just print money endlessly and make us debt slaves. On top of all the taxes that I also mentioned, like that keeps us economically very weak, so we cannot have resources to fight back. That's why we need the thinking also. Personally, the best option I see right now is Bitcoin, even though it might also have problems. We just have the cold card attack, which seems to be another inside attack because the elites know that Bitcoin is dangerous for their usury banking system, their old money banking system. They know that, and they are trying to capture Bitcoin from the inside, from these actors like Michael Saylor or Adam Back, who went to the Epstein Island, and all of these Bitcoin influencers, and like this cold card attack they just had. They wanna make Bitcoin seem extremely dangerous because right now it seems like the only true answer to the monetary debt grip that the bankers have on us. So that's one of the revolutions. And we need to get as many people to realize these things. We need to get as many people to stop going to the Circus Maximus, stop doing habits that make their dopamine super low, that they cannot see the obvious. They never can see the obvious if the brain is offline. If the body is offline, they never have the life force. They never have the vitality to do anything about these things. So, health first. That brings strength, life force, testosterone, dopamine. And then also the first principle thinking, the clarity of mind. And then you need economic revolution. You need political revolution, probably. Everything is super centralized these days. And we can see where that leads to. It leads to one small group of people controlling most. That's everything, basically. That's the New World Order, basically, right now. So we need more decentralized options. We need to stop supporting anything that centralizes, and we need to start supporting anything decentral.
Yes, I understand it. It can be hard for somebody that's not really into this space to understand these things, and they can probably think, oh, these people are crazy and stuff. But as you said previously, this when you're in a low level, one thing enters your ear and it gets out the other. That's what happens to most people. And what has helped me the most, and I'd recommend everybody to do, is to, because I've been doing this for 90 days now, every single day, I wake up and I go on a ocean swim. Regardless of the temperature of the water, the colder it is, the better. I just get into it. And I just completely ignore any thoughts in my mind of, oh, I don't want to go and all this. No, I just go anyways. And that has drastically improved my health because I'm developing this strength, not only biologically, because the cold exposure, the sun, grounding, all increases my dopamine. I can notice my skin improve, my clarity. I close my fist and I feel a strength that I didn't feel before. Like I remember at school hitting, playing with my friends, we'd pick a stick and hit it in the tree, and they'd break the stick by hitting it, and I would try, and they would laugh at me like I had no strength. Now I close my fist and I feel it. Probably because of what you said, my dopamine is higher.
Exactly.
I have more strength. And not only this, but me saying no to my thoughts and just sticking with this action of doing the cold exposure will also allow me to say no to the modern society things of, my, even let's say my family wants me to go to this concert, and I'm like, no, I want to go to bed early. I'm gonna say no to that. And in these small things, in saying no to these small things, in increasing our standards, we can completely change the world. It's all a self development game at the end of the day. So I recommend everybody to start with the simple thing of going to the beach every day, cold exposure. If you don't got a beach, do it at home. It will drastically improve your health and your overall self development.
I will say this to that. It doesn't, like, that's why tropics are also so powerful, because it's so easy to just go to the beach there. And it's so easy to feel good. Like, it's not hard work at all. Every human being feels extremely good by doing that because of the beta and endorphins you get from the UV light and the grounding and the Leonard effect from the ocean and all that. So health is actually super easy, guys. In the modern world, it's hard because we have created the matrix. We have created the environment that's super hard to make us feel good. But actually, health is super easy and it comes naturally to us when we are in the natural environment. And it also makes us strong. It also makes us think better. So I don't wanna I don't wanna let people to think that health is hard thing to do or self-development is hard thing to do. In the modern world, it can be, and especially if you don't have the resources and you cannot relocate, it can be hard for a while. But if you are in the right environment, health is actually really easy.
Exactly. Now, let's look at some, let's say, counter effects because a lot of people in this that start this self development, they start with exercise and by going to the gym. Now, you did mention that going to the gym and you caused you a lot of stress, injuries, and stuff that caused your health to go down. Now, do you still work out? How do you go about it?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say working out. I would say I'm just being a savage outside. Sometimes I make wood here. Sometimes I swim bunch of like however much I feel in the lake. Sometimes I just dance here. I listen to music, I smoke a cigar, and I just dance. Sometimes I go to the calisthenics parks and do pull ups. Sometimes I might wrestle or spar with some of my friends or whatever. Like, I just do what I feel like doing. And when you are healthy, especially as a male that has quite a bit of testosterone running into his blood, you feel like doing shit. Like, we are naturally supposed to go in the hunts and stuff. Like, that would be probably the best exercise, going out into the hunt in the forest or whatever, hunting with your boys. Like, that would be the best ones. Obviously, that's pretty hard in most modern countries. So you gotta cope somehow. You're gonna have some other things to do. But what I'm doing, like what I was saying, I'm always outside now. I never go to the gym anymore. Never ever. That's terrible place to stress your body because you're already stressing your body without even doing anything. And then on top of that, you start to actually stress your body. Like, you're gonna run into problems real quick. So when I'm doing my activities, I'm always grounded. I'm always outside in nature. And I just try to look some fun things to do. Like, what appeals to me, what's fun. And I don't count any reps. I don't I don't really think about the end goals or anything. I'm just trying to make it fun activity to do, something to spend my energy because I have overflow of energy. And it just makes you feel good, especially when you do it at the sun. I would say the beach is really nice place to. When I was in Central America, I used to do some flips. You can see my videos. I did some of my tricking. I would do some sprinting, or I would do some swimming in the ocean or snorkeling, that kind of stuff. Or going to hikes in a jungle, hiking a volcano, that type of stuff.
That's good, yeah. So with the tropics, from what I've heard from people like Excellent Health and some community members of his that went to the tropics also, some of the negative, because they, yes, there are good things like you mentioned, but they did mention some negative stuff like that kind of, even Jones, he kind of holds back on his, on the idea of like you go to the tropics because of this stuff, which is some of the things he mentioned was that there are no attractive women, so no real woman that you can go approach and health conscious woman to have a relationship. Then, as you mentioned, people there just burn plastics, don't really care, throw plastics to the ground. The air pollution can be big, I believe, because of this stuff, people burning trash, and the air quality is gonna be worse. Then he also did mention the food quality in some places isn't necessarily the best, and also because there was a community member of his that went there, and he got some crazy jet lag, so he wasn't being able to sleep, and he also was way too hot, and mosquitoes,
Low
all this type of
Redox.
stuff.
Low Redox.
Okay, yes.
If you
So,
overheat or the mosquitoes are biting you, low Redox. You're leaking light.
what do you mean
But
by that?
well, mosquitoes can see UV light, and when humans are unhealthy, we create more free radicals, ROS and RNS, and that creates light from us. So when we are actually unhealthy, we are leaking more light. We are not capturing the light. This is the Fritz Pop's work that Jack Kruse talks about a lot. So that's one of the theories why mosquitoes attack certain people, because they are leaking light and the mosquitoes see them, and they are obviously predators and they are looking for easiest prey, and they see that, okay, this guy leaks more light, he's weaker, so it's more likely that they are successful at drawing some blood from them. Now there might be some other theories as well, like blood types or smell or something like that, but I can tell that mosquitoes were not a big problem for me. And some of the mosquitoes, you can ask Jones. You can ask Jones about this. The mosquitoes were not a big problem for a Finnish Viking, and the heat wasn't big problem for me either, because if you overheat, it's a sign of low redox and entropy. Your mitochondria is not working. When you can adapt to your environment quickly, so you can adapt to cold in high latitude places, you can withstand cold, or you can adapt to the heat in tropical places, you sweat and you are effectively cooling your body. It's a sign of high redox and sign of high capabilities of adapting to the environment. But I will agree to all of those first points about the tropics. They are negatives there, for sure.
Okay, so you do agree with these negatives, let's say.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I will say you this about the women. You can find nice looking snow bunnies, white women there as well.
Okay. So
That that
you,
that
yeah, yeah.
that was my strategy, and it works. So you, I would say I wasn't a big fan of the local female population either. I mean, they're really nice people, like very nice people, and they can probably cook you a nice rice and beans burrito. But I wasn't really fancying them in the sexual sense. But there's a bunch of white boys and white girls traveling there, and you can find a nice looking white girl for yourself. So don't lose hope.
If
Okay.
you had to leave one last message to the world, if you were to die right now, this is the last thing you can ever put out, what would you say?
Nature is the answer.
That's it?
Yeah, trust in nature, your own nature and nature as a whole. That's the way for humans.
I really like that. Now, you saying this, it literally just made me remember something I had realized the other day, which is like my whole life, I used to think the human body would like, the nature is dangerous. Like I would die at 30 in nature. We are able to survive until 80, 90 because we have these pills, we have doctors. But then I realized, wait, but yes, okay, I can take a pill, but the body is what processes the pill, and even if the pill was magical, it would be the body with the pill. It wouldn't be the pill alone that would save me. And then I realized maybe this shows that the entire we don't need any external stuff, only nature. And
Oh,
I thought about these mosquito stuff. Oh, but the mosquitoes have diseases. We will die out of it.
are the Africans dying in malaria? The Maasai or the tribal people sleeping in the ground? They don't get malaria. The white boys get malaria.
Because of low Redox?
You start to see where this is going. But I will say this also, in the modern environment, sometimes you need more than nature to heal because you already fucked up so much. Your body is already so gone because of your ways of living in unnatural environments and unnatural ways of living that sometimes you need some man-made stuff to heal, to kind of kickstart the healing. So I'm not saying that all the man-made stuff is all the time bad. There's some n=1 cases where you can use man-made inventions and stuff. And obviously, like we said, we are all addicted to these technologies and shit. But nature is the true answer.
Yeah, I agree. Because, for example, like my grandpa, he hit his head against a tree while driving a tractor, and he pretty much didn't care. Like he was like, "Oh, it doesn't matter." 7 days later, he wasn't speaking because he messed up his brain. If he had went to the doctor initially, right after, he probably would have helped him so much and stopped him
Exactly.
from having bigger issues. So we do need to mix a bit of both and be smart here.
Yeah. Don't be
Exactly.
stupid.
Exactly. Yes.
Don't
So
get too dogmatic. Don't get too dogmatic about these things.
that's really good.